take my hand and see the world around you. The time is right, just let the light surround you. And step by step you feel it coming alive, the feeling deep down inside.
The best memories are made when you take the road less traveled. Visit wanderingbutnotlost.com for some inspiration.
Today on Wanderings In, we are pondering wandering with the outbreak of COVID-19 across the globe. Everyone is kind of in a state of unknowing, right? Nobody really, there's not enough information out there to really know what the heck is going on. So, usually on this segment, we're talking about getting up and getting out. And I'm going to just give you my personal, I think Mascot is about to join us. My personal opinion on this is that, I think until we figure out what is happening here, especially in the United States, because we know what's going on in a lot of other places, that perhaps it's time to kind of ratchet it down just a little bit. I just really feel like the key to this, and once again, this is my personal opinion on this, the key to decreasing the exposure and the spread of this in the United States is to figure out, excuse me, Sheldon, who has been infected, and then to try to stop the spread, because
as they're saying, make the curve
flatten the curve
to a hump, right?
Exactly, because here's the thing. When hospitals start getting overwhelmed and beds start getting overwhelmed, and believe me, just like in every day in the world, there are still other things that are happening. People are having heart attacks. People are other reasons to go to the hospital. They're breaking limbs. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of other reasons to be going to the hospital than just the coronavirus. So anyway, I just personally believe it's time to kind of ratchet it back a little bit. And then I'd like to share this. I just traveled, came back from Florida. I was down in Florida for a week, and it was so interesting to see the difference between air travel in just that one short week that I was traveling. Because on my way down to Florida, about 10 days ago now it was just business as usual, pretty much everywhere you were. 7 days later, when I was flying back, completely different situation. I mean, everyone was much more attentive. TSA was a freaking mess. Now, this could have just been where I was, but it's like, all of a sudden, when people were more aware what was going on, there were less people touching things, right? So there were bins everywhere. It was just weird. I'd never seen it like that before. Don't touch your face, Matt. Anyway, and people weren't laying all over the airport like they always are, which actually I found to be kind of refreshing. That was kind of a nice byproduct. That whole laying on the floor thing has always been a little disgusting to me. But anyway, and on the plane, the two planes that I was on flying home have never smelled so disinfected, because everyone was wiping down their surfaces. And another thing I noticed on the planes that people, I didn't hear one sniff, sneeze, or snort on the plane, either plane ride. It was really interesting. And I think,
you think people were just holding it in?
I don't know what was going on, but you just don't want to be that guy, right? You don't want to be the sneezer that everyone's like, the coronavirus guy. So it's just really interesting how it has changed. The conversations on the plane from people that I was sitting around was all about that and all about the stock market. And it was just really interesting how it has become the conversation. And, I know that there are a lot of sides to this, and everyone has their own opinion, and I'm all good with that. I just think that, some of the steps that are being made, I think, are very proactive. And I think proactivity is a very good thing in this case. Like, for example, the NBA and the NFL and the NBL, everybody, sports wise has jumped on this bandwagon, either delayed or are postponing their season. I guess postponed and delayed is the same word, but anyway, postponing the seasons. Big gatherings in a lot of places, and we talked about this earlier. Is it 200 people, 500 people, 20 people, whatever it is? But a lot of states are starting to implement things with public gatherings. The Walt Disney Company has now closed all of its theme parks. So, and I just don't think it's a bad idea. And here's the thing, this could be a very short thing. If we can get the tests out there and people can get tested, and we find out really where this is all spreading, and if we can lower the infection rate, this whole everything is closed down, doesn't have to be closed down for 6 months. It could be closed down until we get the handle on it. And that's the part we don't know. And that's why I think it's important to do it. So my recommendation, and I'm going to be really curious to see what the National Park Service does as far as just the national parks itself, because you would think that, the number of people that visit a national park is low, but it's not. It's still in the millions of people a year. Yosemite is anywhere between 4 and 6 million people a year travel to Yosemite. So, even there, even though you're not around as many people, you only have to be around one. So I don't know. Talk about traveling. I talked to a lot of people that, just don't believe they think it's way overhyped and they don't think it's a big deal. And traveling is great now because the planes are half empty, which, by the way, I did not experience that. My first flight had all but 2 seats filled. And my second flight, a second leg of my journey home the other night only had 6 seats that were empty. And I was flying Delta. I think they've been proactive about that, about cutting back national or
flight schedules. But don't you think right now there's definitely discounts on pricing for flying if you have to fly?
Here's my question about that. That's all great. So let's say you're going to go to any big city. You're going to go to New York and you go to San Francisco and have a ball. When you get there, is anything going to be open for you to do? So exactly. I don't know. Have a great flight because there's nobody on it. But when you get there, you might just be doing nothing. So I think the point as far as wandering goes is just be safe, like we talked about everything else. I mean, find your own comfort zone, find what's important to you, be safe when you're out there, and investigate where you're going. Because last week, matter of fact, I was even going to go to a little Disneyland fan club meetup this weekend at Disneyland, and they've been planning it for a long time. And as this thing kind of started ratcheting up, I was watching their podcasts and listening or looking at their website, saying, "Are they still going to get together on this?" Well, Disneyland snafu'd their plans at the last minute by closing the park down altogether because that wasn't going to happen. So there are a lot of people that might have been planning on going and doing things that they now need to reevaluate, make that phone call, and make sure that you're going to be able to do the things you were going to do. I think the great part about this that is showing up anyway on the short term is that people are being very respectful of reservations that are being made and all that, and either allowing people to delay their trips or to offer money back. A lot of these big companies, Mark Cuban was great about that yesterday. The Walt Disney Company has been fantastic about it. Closing these parks down, but still paying their cast members for that amount of time is a huge, huge step. And I think overall, that is going to be the thing. We need to get through this together and move on. So there's my public service announcement from my standpoint. But regarding wandering, doesn't make you not want to wander. And I'm going to tell you something. I always have wanderlust, and I would love to more than anything else get out there right now when things aren't as crowded. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not. However, there's a lot of places right around here in the area that I plan on. I don't plan on self-quarantining. There's no reason to. I feel great, but I'm not going to be out and about and in bigger groups as much because I just don't think it's a good thing to do. But that doesn't mean you can't get out and go on some hikes and do some wandering in your own area, because that there's trails and there's things to do to get up and out and still be able to have that euphoria and that mix of get some fresh air and really get some exercise in, because that's going to be really, really important, especially if this does go on for a while. Now, I was going to put together a whole list of things you can do if you are staying home, but you know what? I realized there's really no reason to do that, because back on episodes 57, 58, and 59 of the Wandering But Not Lost podcast, we talked about exactly that. And there wasn't even a pandemic going on. We talked about staying in and getting out. And in episode 57, I give you 15 different films, actually, that take place in and around national parks. So if you're in a national park mood and you're missing going out and getting out there, go to episode 57, because you can, through an hour and a half or 2 hour of film, do a little exploring without actually having to get out there yourself. In episode 58, really more tapping into just movies about wandering in general, plane, trains, and automobile, and things that have, talked more about the national road trip. So that's another bit of exploring you can do through some other people. And in episode 59, we talked about wandering through reading. And there are so many ways that you can explore and feel as though you can get out and about through actually picking up a book and just escaping into another world. So there is so much that you can do while staying in that doesn't require you to watch the freaking news 24 hours a day, because that will drive you crazy.
Or get cabin fever.
Yeah.
I was thinking, that is so cool that you're talking about this, because I actually had the thought in the last couple of days about, wow, Because honestly, not joking around, I'm like, oh my God, my obsession on hockey, what am I going to do? And I went, you know what, let me be proactive. There are a lot of little projects that I want to work on. There's writing and reading that I want to do. There's always something to do for business.
That's right.
But there's this downtime that I was using, the time that is open for not being able to do the kind of stuff that you can't do because you can't watch sports, me being a sports fan, is I really started going, wow, I've been wanting to work on this project. I've been wanting to do some more writing and reading, and maybe there is some things that I wanted to watch that's more educational, and definitely not continue to watch the continued, the stuff is just recycled all the time. And I think you have to stay on top of what's going on, but you can get breaking news. You can get alerts. You don't have to watch it 24/7, so if something's happened with the stock market or something else has happened that you need to be aware of.
Yeah, we'll put.
I'm with you on that.
Absolutely, we'll put a link to the show notes. So you can actually sign up for a newsletter or update email that you can get from the CDC as things change. I applied to that. I think it's just a good idea because that way you're getting information from a trusted source. I think that's so important because there is so much information that's going on around there, and everyone's got their own opinion. And I gave my opinion today, and that's okay because this is a podcast and we are giving our opinions. But you just have to really be careful. And we said in our last segment, and I really believe this is really important for everybody to take a step back on their own personal social media by trying to be an expert in the coronavirus, either saying yay or nay about it. I just think it's not appropriate, and that's how this perpetuates. So anyway, there's so many ways you can wander. You don't have to actually be out there mingling with 15 million people at one time. You can wander, and I'm going to tell you something. If we all just relax, we get this under control, we're going to be back to normal before we know it.
Hey, I'm with you. We need to stay calm and carry on.
Yeah, we will keep you up to date on things. And so anyway, everyone, I would say, continue to be wandering, but not lost, but be also very cautious and careful when you're doing so.
Good.